Moral stories.
Once upon a time, a lazy and the foolish man lived in a village. His name was George. George often had a fight with his wife because of his laziness. One day, his wife scolded him so much that George became irritated and hyper and said,
Okay, I am going to the city for work.
His wife said, "City is very far away. Wait, I will make some bread for you. Eat them on the way." The wife baked 7 breads and gave them to George. George walked towards the city. It was afternoon and he saw a well on the way. He sat down by the well and took out bread to eat. He was very hungry. He thought and spoke to himself loudly.
Should I eat one, two, or eat all the 7?
7 fairies lived in this well. When they heard this, they became extremely terrified. One of the fairy came out of the well and said,
Why you want to eat all the 7?
George replied,
I am very hungry. 1 or 2 won't work. So I want to eat all the 7.
Fairy said,
Well, if you don't eat us, I will give you something that will never let you and your family go hungry ever again.
Suddenly a pot appeared in Fairy's hand by magic. Fairy said,
Whatever food you ask for, by placing this pot in front of you, this pot will be filled to the brim with that food.
George said,
Let's try it. I have bread. Let's ask for curry.
The pot immediately filled with the curry by magic. George ate to his heart's content and walked on with the pot on his head. On the way, he felt a bit tired, so he decided to take a rest for some time in the nearby guest house. On the way, there was an old woman's guest house. He entered the guest house and went in a room. He put the pot in front of him and ordered the pot to serve him with rice. The pot filled with hot, yummy rice. George satisfied his appetite and then asked for sweet pudding and pot filled with yummy pudding. The old landlady was secretly watching from the window. The old lady entered in the room and asked,
What kind of pot is this?
George told her the whole story that how he got this pot. The old lady was very clever and cunning. She convinced George to stay at the guest house for the night. Old lady said,
Dear, it would be dangerous to travel at night as some thief can take away your magical pot. Spend night in guest house and go to your home in the morning.
When George slept at night, then the old lady replaced the magic pot with an ordinary pot and stole his magical pot. Next morning, George reached his home with the ordinary pot and told his wife.
Look what I have brought. This is a magical pot.
He told his wife about the magical power of the pot and ordered the pot to serve some sweet dish. But the pot remained empty. George was very surprised and again ordered the pot.
Dear pot, fill with the porridge. I want to eat porridge.
But even now, pot remained empty. George's wife started making fun of him. George shouted angrily,
Well, you bake me bread again tomorrow. I will go to the well and complain the fairy about the pot.
Next day, his wife again baked 7 loaves of bread for him and George went to the well with them. When he reached to the well, he said,
Should I eat 1, 2, or eat all 7?
The fairy again came out of the well and said,
You come again? Are you still short of food?
George complained to Fairy that magical pot is not listening to me. Fairy thought for some time and then said,
Leave the pot. I will give you something that will make you rich.
Suddenly, a magical white hand appeared in Fairy's hand. She pointed the hand towards the George and said,
This is the hand that lays golden egg. When you order it, it will lay a golden egg. Don't bother us again, please.
George held the hand in his hand and left for the home. Suddenly, heavy rain started on the way, and the George went in the same guest house to spend the night. The clever landlady again came to the George and asked,
What gift did you get today?
Foolish George not only told her about the magic hand but also demonstrated its magical power and said,
Dear hand, lay a golden egg.
Magical hand immediately laid a golden egg. The cunning old lady became extremely happy. George decided to spend night in the guest house due to the rain. George tied the hand's leg with his bed and slept. After some time in the night, the old lady brought another hen and tied it to the bed. She stole the magic hen and ran away. Next morning, George reached happily to his home with the ordinary hen and told his wife about the magical power of hen. His wife said,
I will only believe if this hen will lay golden egg in front of me. George said,
Why not? Dear hen, lay a golden egg.
But the hen couldn't even lay an ordinary egg. George's wife started making fun of him again. George shouted angrily,
Bake me 7 breads again tomorrow and see what I will do with this cheater fairy. If I don't chew her alive, my name is not George.
Wife said.
You leave it. I think you are doing all this drama to eat bread yourself.
George said,
Well, you don't bake any bread. I will go without any bread.
and saying this, he left in anger. Next day, he again went to the well and said,
Should I eat 1, 2, or all the 7?
The fairy again came out of the well and said,
What happened now? I gave you gifts that would make you rich, but you seems to be a very greedy person.
George blushed and said,
No, please believe me. Like Pot, the hen is also not following my orders. My wife insulted me so much that I am a liar.
Fairy thought for some time and then said,
Did you go anywhere else with these 2 things before going home?
George told the fairy about the guest house and the old landlady. Fairy understood that all the mischief was done by the old landlady. She recited something in her mouth and suddenly a thick stick appeared in her hand. She said to George,
Take this stick and go to the guest house and show the landlady this stick and say these words. Magical stick, beat the person who has stolen my things until she returns my stolen things to me.
When George reached the guest house with a stick, the old landlady became very happy and asked,
What gift you got today?
George said,
I got this magical stick today.
and he repeated the words of fairy.
Oh, magical stick, beat the person who has stolen my things until she returns my stolen things to me.
As soon as he uttered these words, the stick started beating the old lady. Now the old landlady was running here and there, and the stick was following her and beating her. At last, the clever lady returned George the magical pot and the hen, and then a stick stopped. George picked up his magical stick, pot, and hen and reached home happily. His wife was very happy to see the magical power of these things. They became very rich and lived happily ever after. Dear friends, the moral of the story is that we should not share our secrets with the strangers. Dear friends, if you like our story, please like and share it. And to watch more exciting stories, don't forget to subscribe our channel.